Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming and joining this presentation. My name is Ashley Happy. Like Emily said, I am the Training and Communications Program Manager at the Enhanced 911 Board. I have been there for about 3 years, so it feels longer. And before that, I was a dispatcher and call taker, 911 call taker at the Lamoille County Sheriff's Department for about 10 years and a deputy for about 6 years. So today I'm going to talk to you about actually two programs. We're going to talk to you about the CARE program as well as our supplemental ALI, which ALI stands for Automatic Location Information or Identification. Both of these are great tools for citizens to know about in emergency preparedness because they can provide support in daily emergencies as well as those that might occur on a larger scale. So we'll start with CARE, and CARE actually stands for Citizen Assistance Registry for Emergencies. It's a helpful resource and tool for first responders and EMD. And what we'd like to do is continue to spread the word about its existence because a lot of people don't know about it. Um, and we'd like for all of our first response agencies to be able to take advantage of the benefits that this program has for their communities. So few objectives I'm going to cover in this presentation. Obviously, first and foremost, I want you to have a clear understanding of what CARE actually is. I'm going to provide an overview of the targeted audience of CARE. We'll discuss what kind of information CARE gathers and then how we use it. Talk a little bit about how CARE information is maintained by the E911 board. And then lastly, we'll talk about how to access forms and registration process and how we're looking to enhance the program's reach and accessibility to everyone. So, emergencies can take many forms. They can be ice storms, floods, fires, major traffic accidents, and any of these incidents can cause power outages, isolate individuals, or prompt the need for an evacuation. For older people or for people who with certain disabilities, such events, if prolonged, can become life-threatening if no one's available to help. So CARE's first iteration was about 6 or 7 years ago and had initially been introduced as a pilot program by the Lamoille County Sheriff's Department. As of today, our CARE partners include the Department of Health, Vermont Emergency Management, and we're all working together to boost the public knowledge of CARE. Personally, in my capacity as a trainer, I encourage my call takers to become as familiar as possible with the registrants in their coverage areas so that they can make police, fire, and EMS responders aware when needed. So when we talk about needing special or additional assistance, essentially we're referring to addressing that need for the purpose of rescue efforts during the emergency. We'll go over the form a little bit later on in the presentation and take a closer look at what exactly is being asked from registrants, and then talk about how that information might be used. When we talk about emergency responders, this includes 911 call takers, police, fire, and rescue personnel, and emergency management. All of these responders are going to benefit from knowing how best to serve their communities in these emergencies. So again, we're talking about care needs, and the goal is to provide the resource or design the safety plan with the best information for an efficient rescue to help save lives if there's a large disaster. We want to make sure that first responders, one, know that there are these needs in their area, and then that they are able to obtain the resources needed to address them. And we can't obviously promise that you're going to have the resources to address them, but knowing is the first step. It helps to create the safety plan that is needed if there is a wide scale emergency or an evacuation, isolation, or an event that needs rescue. So this is the information that we're looking for from the forum as of right now. As I stated previously, some of these things are being reviewed for the most effective terminology and to ensure that we're inclusive of the needs that people may have. So Right now, the form requests at the registrar indicate the following, um, you know, what type of event they would need additional assistance in, whether it's an evacuation, long-term loss of power, or isolation event. They can choose all of those. They can check all three. And then we ask what type of conditions would support the best rescue efforts. So would they need an ambulance, a different form of transportation like a van, bus, or a wheelchair van? Do they have a service animal? Do they have any specific language needs? Any visual impairment? Do they have oxygen? And what's the duration of that power supply? Any other specialized medical equipment that they have, and then the duration of that power supply as well. So the care information that we have is actually stored on two platforms, one of which is accessible to all Vermont 911 call takers through their map. That information will pop up if they are having if there's a call that's coming from a care address, and it will uh, show up with an icon that will indicate that there's additional information located on that address, and then the call taker can actually read what that information is. Um, Map can also be accessed. I mean, those icons can also be accessed at any time. It doesn't have to be the person calling. They can actually search that care information while they are sitting at their desks and not necessarily during an emergency. I apologize. I'm not sure why my slides are doing that. So generally, care data is going to be requested within 72 hours of an emergency. Like last year, July 10th, and this year, but FEMA didn't do it this year. Last year, FEMA did an anonymized information around the July floods. So they were essentially given information by number of needs per community and then what those needs were, but not individual information such as names, addresses, and phone numbers. Um, so a care data can be requested by police, fire, or EMS responders before or during an emergency, and that would be done through their local Peace app. Um, we would receive that request from the Peace app and then generate a data set of all those registrants in the community. It works slightly different with municipal EMDs. That goes through the VEM watch officer or the EMD, and they would contact the 911 board directly and then just follow the regular protocol to get that information. So one of our admin staff currently goes through records that are over a year old and attempts to make contact with registrants to make sure that what is showing in our system is still accurate or that they still live at that address, or assist with updating an additional need that they might have. If we aren't able to get in contact with the registrant, that record gets flagged, and we try to figure out another way to confirm or update the information that we have. As we have moved over completely to the online form process, we try to encourage registrants to take an active role in keeping their information up to date. Um, and we provide that information on the form to make sure that they know that they need to update that information. We obviously promote and encourage online registration. However, if a registrant is not able to access a computer, then they can contact our office and we can assist them with that. So the forms can be found on our website, as well as the instructions on filling them out. It's at the e911.vermont.gov/care. There's a link at the bottom of the page, as well as instructions on how to fill it out. It also has a link to an online portal that registrants can access directly and set up their account. The care brochure that we actually have a care and sub alley table out in the exhibitors hall. It includes contact information for our office if a registrant requires additional assistance in accessing the online form. So, like I said, we're trying to do continuous work on developing the care program and its outreach. We're trying to provide more accessibility in the registration process and trying to make sure that we have information that is going to reach various populations of Vermont. Um, Essentially, the more information about care that is shared, the more individuals who need it will be able to take advantage of its benefits. And we encourage emergency responders and members of the community to spread the word about the program because that is a huge part of how people will know about it. Okay, so Vermont Supplemental Alley, and like I said, Alley is automatic location identification or information. That was formerly known as premise information. That program has been a part of the 911 system for a while now. And this information, unlike CARE, is attached to a phone record and not an address. So, what exactly is it? First of all, this is information that the 911 call takers can see when a number calls 911. That is what their alley is. It's called their alley and Annie screen, automatic location information and automatic number information. The supplemental alley is extra information that can be attached on the back end to whatever the phone number is. That information will populate, and that's all based on when that person calls 911. It'll be attached to their phone number wherever they are. So I'm not sure how well you can see that in the room, but this is the form. It it asks for the phone number that the information should be attached to, what type of phone service we're talking about. So it can be a wireline, wireless, or VoIP, voice over internet protocol, whatever name is associated with that phone number, the address associated with the phone number, even though it won't necessarily be, it won't show up necessarily in the information that the call taker sees, but it's good information to have just in case there needs to be follow up. And then what information, that box in the middle, what information does the registrant want the call taker to know in order to pass on to emergency responders? Um, and then just normal, the requester, phone number of the requester. You can actually use multiple phone numbers and attach information to them as well. So, like I said, supplemental alley is going to be attached to that phone record, and it relates to caller and or responder safety. That information we encourage to be as clear and concise as possible because it's going to go in a little box, which I'll show you in a second. Um, if you have like a long summary, that's okay. Um, it's going to pass through our training department, which is me at the moment. And then I will just put it, I will just kind of shave it down so that it's functional for the call taker in the middle of a 911 call. And make sure that the information, the essential information for responder and caller safety is there. So this is actually just a small video of what that alley information is going to look like for the call taker. So this is what the call taker screen looks like. Um, and then when the call comes in, they answer it. Um, all that information will pop up for them. They will see the phone number information and address, and then there will be a little prompt at the top that says check alley note for additional information. They'll click the alley note, and then a little window will pop up with whatever the information is that is attached to that phone record. So the difference, what's the difference between care and supplemental alley? Um, Care information is intended for wide scale emergencies, right? We're not using this necessarily for a daily or day to day emergency kind of situation. The information that care registrants provide is supposed to aid in formulating a rescue plan and acquiring the necessary resources that they might need if there was a wide scale emergency. We provide care information is provided as a resource to support a more complex or emergent rescue effort. Supplemental ALI, by comparison, can be used in everyday emergencies. Um, it's also not a requestable set of data for first responders. It's only accessible to the 911 operator during a 911 call, and then obviously to our office because we receive the forms. That supplemental ALI is going to tell responders specifics about scene safety. It can also be cases where, we've had some people possibly put in, lockbox information if they're not able to get to the door. Um, or, if this person calls 911, just know that they are nonverbal. So please send emergency services, even if you don't hear anything, that kind of stuff. So right now to register, it is on our website again, e911.vermont.gov, and then under the left-hand side tab of forms and publications. Um, the link to the form is available at the bottom of the page. It's a fillable form that can then just be submitted to the 911 board through email, or if you prefer, you can print it out and mail it. We are revising the entire process just because we're just kind of revamping the program, which is why it's called Supplemental ALI now and not premise information. Um, but the same as with care, if they need assistance, if a registrant needs assistance with filling out the form or they don't have access to a computer, they can just call our office and we will make sure they get the support they need in order to get that information into the system. So, questions or comments, this is my contact information. You can email e91.training@vermont.gov. My work phone number, 461-9724, and then the office number is the 828-4911 number.